That day, I came home earlier than usual. Though back then, I didn't know that earlier would later seem like a ridiculous accident. As if my entire polished, comfortable, expensive life hinged on just 15 minutes. Usually, on Thursdays, I stayed at the office until 8, then headed to the club restaurant for dinner, where the waiters already knew I didn't like ice in my water and always asked for warm bread. But that Thursday, my head was pounding. A dull ache at the base of my skull. The kind you get after endless negotiations where everyone speaks in perfect corporate phrases but says nothing human. I canceled dinner, got in the car, and spent the whole drive staring out the window at the wet asphalt, the rare yellow leaves stuck to the curbs, the people under umbrellas who somehow seemed more real than I did in my warm leather and coffee-scented cabin. The house greeted me with its usual silence. A large, bright home, too tidy, out in the suburbs, with a manicured lawn, damp steps, and path lights that switched on automatically at dusk. I always claimed I loved order, but in reality, I think I was just afraid of the traces of life. There were no scattered things, no random mugs, no stray hairs in the bathroom, no kids' drawings on the fridge, no tangled scarves by the door. Everything sat exactly where it belonged. Even my slippers were lined up, toes facing the armchair, as if waiting not for a person, but for a magazine spread on quiet, successful living. I took off my coat in the hallway, hung it on the wooden rack, rubbed my face with my hands, and suddenly heard a soft knock. Not a doorbell. A knock. Careful, like the person was afraid to disturb anything. At first, I thought I imagined it. Houses make noises all the time. A drip in the gutter, a branch against the glass, the heating system clicking. But a few seconds later, it came again. 3 times. Not loud. I didn't go to the door right away. I don't know why. People didn't just show up at my house unannounced. Couriers checked in at the gate. Neighbors messaged in the group chat. The housekeeper came on schedule. The gardener worked Tuesdays and Fridays. Spontaneity was something that happened to other people. I checked the door camera, but the rain blurred the image. A dark figure, a hood, a bag at their feet. A woman. When I opened the door, a wave of wet wool, cold air, and something else, cheap shampoo, maybe, or damp paper, hit my face. She stood on the porch, clutching a gray bag already soaked at the edges. She wore a thin coat, too light for the weather, jeans, dark boots with white salt stains on the seams, though there was no snow yet. Hair had escaped her hood and clung to her cheeks. She looked about 30, maybe a little younger. Her face wasn't classically beautiful, but alive, the kind of face that shows you've been holding yourself together for a long time. "You're Andrew Sergeyevich?" she asked. Her voice was low, raspy from the cold. "Yes." She glanced over my shoulder, then into the warm hallway light, then back at me. "I'm sorry, I didn't know where else to go." I stayed silent, not out of rudeness. It's just that phrases like that only existed in movies for me. I hadn't figured out what expression to put on. She pulled a clear plastic folder from her bag. Inside were papers, a photograph, a folded note. Her hands were shaking, and drops of water fell from her sleeves onto the porch tiles. "My name is Vera," she said. "I'm Lidia Pavlovna's daughter." It took me a second to place the name. Then I remembered. Lidia Pavlovna, our old housekeeper. Not exactly a housekeeper. As a kid, I called her nanny, though she was never officially employed as one. She'd worked for my parents for years, back in the old apartment near Patriarch S. Ponds. Later, she'd come to help my mother after my father passed. And after my mother died, I sent her money a few times through the accounting department. I hadn't seen her in 10 years, maybe more. I remembered her round face, her work-worn hands, the smell of starched linen, and her funny habit of talking to the houseplants. "Lidia Pavlovna passed away?" I asked, hearing how dry it sounded. Vera nodded. "In August. I wrote to you, but the letter probably didn't reach you." A sharp, unpleasant sting hit my chest. Not grief, shame, the kind that surfaces when you're suddenly caught in your own indifference, even if you didn't realize you were feeling it. Her message had gotten lost somewhere between Istanbul, a board meeting, a pool renovation, and a pointless attempt to buy myself a new hobby through rare wines. "Come in," I said. She didn't move. "I want stay long." "Come in." She stepped over the threshold so carefully, it was like she was afraid of dirtying the floor. I closed the door, and suddenly the house felt strangely cramped. Even though the hallway was the size of a small apartment. Vera pulled off her hood, shook out her hair, and set the bag next to the mat. Water pooled around it in little puddles. For some reason, I kept staring at those puddles, thinking tomorrow's housekeeper, Natalia, would definitely notice them and ask who'd been by. "Would you like some tea?" I asked. "No need. You're freezing." "A little." She said it like admitting to being cold was a weakness. I led her to the kitchen. My kitchen was almost always empty. White stone, light wood, expensive appliances I used like a colorblind person with no imagination. A coffee machine, a toaster, a fridge stocked with meal prep containers. Not because I liked pre-made food, but because I hated deciding what to eat. Vera sat on the edge of a chair and placed the folder in front of her. I turned on the kettle, grabbed 2 mugs. Automatically reached for the fine porcelain, then changed my mind and pulled out the thick, everyday mugs I rarely used. The tea was Earl Grey. Old, but it smelled warm. I set a mug in front of her, a sugar bowl, a small plate of cookies I couldn't remember buying. "Tell me," I said. She wrapped her hands around the mug, but didn't drink. "Before she died, Mama asked me to find you. Said she had one thing left to return. At first, I didn't want to. Then she got too tired to keep holding on. And then it just happened that I really had nowhere else to go." I sat across from her. I wanted to ask what nowhere else meant, but realized it was too broad a question. Instead, I looked at the folder. "What thing?" She pulled out a photograph. Old, faded, with a white border. In it, I was a boy of about 7. In short shorts, knobby knees, standing at my parents' dacha next to Lidia Pavlovna. She had a hand on my shoulder, and I was squinting in the sun, holding a little wooden boat. I didn't remember the day, but I remembered the boat. My father had made it from scrap wood back when he still knew how to be present, not just in body, but in hands. Then Vera took out an envelope. My mother's handwriting. I recognized it instantly. The slanted, sharp letters, my name, Andriusha. She only wrote like that in rare postcards, when she wanted to be tender but was too shy to show it. "This was Mama S," Vera said. "My mother said your mother left this envelope with her years ago. Asked her to give it to you when the time was right. But Lydia was afraid. Then she got sick. And before she died, she told me, 'Don't keep what isn't yours, Barachka. And don't be afraid of rich houses. People live there too. They just hide better.'" I took the envelope but didn't open it. The paper was thick, slightly yellowed. For a second, I couldn't breathe. My mother died 11 years ago. We had polite, calm, almost business-like relations. She loved me, probably. But in the way people love when they've been taught as children that feelings are chaos. After she died, there were accounts, jewelry, the house, document folders, a charity foundation, a few coats to be tailored, and some old cashmere scarves. No letters were ever handed to me. "Why now?" I asked. Vera lowered her eyes. "Because I lost my apartment." She said it evenly, without pleading, like stating that a bus had already left. "How did you lose it?" "It's a long story. I'm not in a hurry." She finally looked at me, a little more carefully, like she was checking if I was serious. In the kitchen, a grandfather clock ticked, though I'd been meaning to remove it for years because the sound annoyed me. Outside, rain streamed down the dark glass in long threads. Vera took a sip of tea, winced at the heat. Mama lived in a room in a communal flat since the 90s. Then the building went into a relocation program. They promised compensation. I wasn't registered there because I left my husband and was renting temporarily. Everything's temporary until it becomes permanent. Mama got sick. I moved in to care for her. I was running between the hospital, the pharmacy, work. Signed a power of attorney without really looking. Stupid, right? She gave a short, humorless laugh. After the funeral, we found out the compensation had already been collected. Not by us. The room was sold through a chain of buyers. A lawyer named Yuri said we could sue, but it would be long and expensive. And I was left with what's in this bag. I listened and felt that familiar urge rise inside me. The urge to solve the problem with money. Not because I was generous. Money was just the fastest way to remove discomfort. Pay a lawyer, rent her a place, transfer a sum, give a contact, close the door again. I almost said, I'll help, but stopped myself. Vera wasn't talking like someone who came begging. She came with an envelope. The rest was just there, like a wet coat on a chair. Do you have somewhere to sleep tonight? I asked. She wrapped her hands around the mug again. There's a waiting room at the station. That is not an answer. A friend has 2 kids and a husband who doesn't like guests. That is not an answer either. She rubbed her temples, exhausted. Andrew Sergeyevich, I didn't come to burden you, really. I delivered the letter. That's it. I looked at her. Her cracked lips, blue-tinged fingers from the cold, the bag that probably held everything she owned. In that moment, my house felt indecently wealthy, even oppressively empty. 3 guest rooms upstairs, a separate linen closet, an office I barely worked in, a gym with a treadmill I used 40 minutes, 3 times a week, just to keep the doctor happy. And a person across from me who was planning to sleep at a train station. Stay here, I said. She tensed immediately. No, just for one night. No. Why? Because I don't know you. Reasonable. We fell silent. And why specifically me? I don't know you. I like that about you. Her tone held a simple, stubborn dignity, uncalculated. Most people who entered my life already knew too much about me. Property values, connections, habits, which wines I kept in the cellar, who to approach through me. Vera only knew her mother had once rocked me to sleep, and that my doorstep was dry. Then I'll book you a hotel nearby, I said. We'll talk to a lawyer tomorrow. No lawyer. Why? Because everyone said the chances are slim. Everyone. And who is everyone? A free consultation near the subway. And a man from the housing administration who looked past me. That's not everyone. She stayed quiet. I could see she wanted to refuse, not because she didn't need help, but because help felt dangerous. When you've lived without a safety net for too long, any kindness looks like a hook. I felt awkward at how easily I doled out solutions. Stay, I repeated softer. Not here. Somewhere you'll feel safe. She looked down at her tea, then nodded. While I called the property manager to arrange a hotel, Vera sat perfectly still. Later, I handed her a dry towel, offered a hairdryer, but she declined. I called a driver, not my usual one. He'd already gone home, but a car from the service fleet. When she stood up, I noticed she was limping. Your leg? Blister. Walked too far. From the stop? The village was a 40-minute walk from the bus stop, along a wet road with no sidewalk. I wanted to ask why she didn't take a taxi, then immediately realized how stupid the question was. At the door, she suddenly turned back. Open the envelope. Mama worried a lot. About your mother. And probably about you, too. When she left, the house fell silent again. But it was a different silence. Not smooth, not scrubbed clean, but disturbed. On the kitchen counter sat her half-finished mug, a damp mark on the chair, a loose thread from her coat on the floor. I stood holding the envelope, though the kettle had long since clicked off, though there was no water left in it. I only opened the letter an hour later. First, I changed, washed up, pulled a container of salmon and rice from the fridge, set it in the microwave, then didn't eat it. I paced the house, turning lights on and off, as if checking whether it was still mine. The office smelled of leather, paper, and the faint trace of cigars I barely smoked but kept for guests. I sat at the desk, placed the envelope in front of me, and stared at the word Andriusha for a long time. The letter was only 2 pages. My mother wrote that she never knew how to talk to me while she was alive. That after my father died, she became afraid of my coldness, though she cultivated it herself. That when I was 7, my father wanted to leave the business, sell some assets, buy a small hotel by the sea where we lived simply but together. She called him weak back then. He stayed, started drinking, and died of a heart attack a few years later. My mother wrote that she spent her life believing money was protection, only to realize she built a wall out of it. She asked me not to repeat her mistake, and she asked that if Lidia Pavlovna or her daughter ever reached out to me, to help them not out of duty, but as a human being. Lidia was the only person in our house who knew how to care for you without fear of spoiling you, it read at the end. I read that sentence several times. Then I took off my glasses. I only wore them for reading documents, and covered my face with my hands. I was 42. I had more money than I could spend without being foolish. I had a house, 2 cars, company shares, a foundation, a doctor, a trainer, a tailor, a lawyer, a property manager, people who addressed me by my first name and patronymic with respectful smiles. And suddenly it turned out that somewhere in my past, there was a woman who cared for me without fear, and I didn't even know she was gone. The next morning, I drove to the hotel myself. The day was gray, wet, with a low sky. I barely slept. Woke at 6, made coffee, opened my laptop, and started digging into everything I could find about the building relocation. Then I texted my lawyer, Max. Not my usual short, commanding tone, but a long, detailed message. He replied in 20 minutes. I'll look into it, but if the power of attorney and the chain of deals move fast, it won't be easy. I knew fast in his language meant expensive and unpleasant. Vera came down to the hotel lobby in the same clothes, just with dry hair tied in a low ponytail. She looked younger and more exhausted at the same time. In her hand was a phone with a cracked screen. Why are you here? She asked instead of hello. Good morning. Good morning. Had breakfast? Yes. I glanced at the corner table with a cup and an empty saucer, probably just tea. I have a lawyer. He ready to look at the documents. I told you. I remember, but he not a free consultation near the subway. She narrowed her eyes, as if trying to figure out if I was mocking her. Do you always talk like this? Like what? Like a man who has already made up his mind. I wanted to argue but couldn't find the words. Instead, I said, often. She suddenly smiled, very briefly, but genuinely. It changed her face, not softer, but lit from within by a tired kind of irony. Then I'll try to talk like someone who hasn't agreed yet. We went to a cafe near the hotel. Not my usual spots, but a small place with fogged windows, the smell of roasted beans and wet jackets. Vera picked a table against the wall. I ordered an omelet, serniki, coffee, tea, water, as if trying to feed not a person, but my own anxiety. She looked at it all and said, "You think I eat like a construction crew?" I didn't know what you liked. People usually ask. I usually struggle with people. She stayed quiet, then took a serniki. Ate slowly, carefully, not like someone starving, though I could see she was. On her finger was a faint tan line from a ring, but no ring. I noticed it and immediately looked away, ashamed of my own observation. She told me more. About the husband she lived with for 4 years and left without scandal. Just one day realized that next to him, she was constantly apologizing for taking up space. About her mother, who had a stroke, became sometimes docile, sometimes angry, sometimes helpless, and Vera cared for her while working shifts as an administrator at a private clinic. About the room, the documents, the power of attorney, A man named Gleb who helped with the paperwork and vanished. About the August funeral, the heat, cheap wreaths, a neighbor, Aunt Raya, who brought cutlets in a plastic container because the dead don't care, but the living need to eat. About how a week ago she went to the room and the lock was changed, and the new owner, a young guy in expensive sneakers, said he didn't know anyone and bought it legally. I listened and gradually felt not just sympathy, but anger. Quiet cold. Probably because this whole story wasn't an exception, but a system of petty human predation, where someone always knows where to slip a paper, where a person is tired, sick, alone. I knew these mechanisms from the other side. In business, they called it a weak counterparty position. In life, it had a different name. Why didn't you come to me sooner? I asked. She wiped her fingers with a napkin. Because Mama asked me to deliver the letter, not to ask for money. And because I was afraid you'd say, leave it at the front desk. I don't have a front desk. People like you do. It's in the voice. I didn't even get offended, because I knew she was right. After the cafe, we went to Max's office. In the elevator, Vera grew completely quiet. I saw how she held the document folder with both hands, how she stared at her boots, how she smoothed the fraying fabric of her coat. I suddenly wanted to say something simple, reassuring, but I didn't know how. Instead, I said, Max is good. For whom? What? Good for whom? For you? Or in general? The elevator stopped. I smiled. Fair point. We'll see. Max was exactly as he always was. Calm, clean-shaven, expensive pen, the face of a man long accustomed to other people's tragedies like work files. He listened carefully, took the documents, asked precise questions. Vera answered cohesively, but I saw how her jaw tightened with every question about dates of death, illness, the power of attorney. When Max said we could try to push it through signs of fraud and her mother's incapacity at the time of signing, but we need medical records, witnesses, statements. Vera closed her eyes for a second. Is it going to take long? She asked. Yes, Max said. And it's unpleasant. I already figured that part out. But it's not hopeless. She looked at him like the word not hopeless was too expensive to trust immediately. Over the next few weeks, my life outwardly barely changed, but internally, it began to shift. I still went to the office, ran meetings, signed papers, listened to reports about quarterly metrics, risks, new markets. Still drank black coffee in the morning, sometimes swam in the pool at night, answered emails, spoke with the property manager. But now, my day included messages from Vera. Photos of old hospital statements, questions about a notary's address, a short note. Found the neighbor who remembers Gleb. Then, low blood pressure, rescheduled meeting. She wrote without fluff, just facts. I replied the same way, but somehow found myself waiting for those messages. I rented her a small apartment near the subway. Not immediately. She resisted so hard we almost argued. Finally, I told her it wasn't a gift, but part of the legal expenses, because a witness and claimant needed a stable address to handle the case. She looked at me for a long moment and said, "You know how to help like you're drafting a contract. And you know how to accept help like you're taking a loan from an enemy." Maybe that's exactly it. Maybe. The apartment was simple. One room, small kitchen, a balcony overlooking a courtyard, and a playground where kids rode scooters even after dark. When we first visited, I felt almost physical relief. Normal wallpaper, an ordinary table, a kettle, a slightly crooked closet, the smell of someone else's life slowly fading out. Vera walked through the rooms, opened a window, checked the radiator. "It's good," she said. "Really, here, you can actually sleep." I didn't know what to say. For me, housing was evaluated by district, square footage, security, view. For her, you can sleep was enough for now. One evening, I brought her documents. It was October, getting dark early, a wet mash of first snow covered the city. I planned to just hand over the folder in the entryway, but she said, Come up. I put the kettle on. I went up. The apartment smelled of buckwheat, fried onions, and laundry detergent. Socks dried on the radiator, papers and a pen lay on the table, a chipped mug. Vera wore a home sweater, hair loosely gathered, exhaustion on her face after a shift. She'd taken a temporary job at a pharmacy nearby while the case moved forward. I sat on a slightly wobbly stool and suddenly realized I felt more comfortable here than in my house with designer lighting. "Want buckwheat?" she asked. "I don't want to impose. This isn't a restaurant, Andrew Sergeyevich. Here, you can just say yes or no." "Yes." She served me buckwheat in a deep bowl, topped with onions and a piece of chicken. The food was simple, hot, and I ate slower than usual because somehow I wanted to memorize the taste. Outside, kids shouted in the yard. Someone upstairs moved a chair. A man coughed through the wall. Vera talked about how at the pharmacy, people often bought medicine and immediately asked if there was a cheaper option, then got embarrassed, as if poverty was bad manners. I listened, nodded, and felt strangely light at how easily she spoke about things my circle hid behind phrases like complex situations. "Why are you alone?" she asked suddenly. I looked up. "In what sense?" "The usual. Big house, lots of mugs, and you're alone." "Observant. Occupational hazard. People think pharmacists look at prescriptions. We look at people." I put down my fork. "I was married. A long time ago. Not for long. And she left. To someone. To life, probably." I looked out the window. The glass reflected the kitchen, small, yellow-lit, her figure by the stove, mine, in a too-expensive jacket on the chair back. She said that next to me, everything was correct, but nothing was alive. Back then, I decided it was just the complaints of a spoiled woman. Now I'm not so sure. Vera didn't pity me, just asked, "Did you love her?" I thought. Before, I'd answer automatically. Of course. Now the automatic answer stuck. I wanted her around, wanted the house to feel full, but without mess. Wanted her happy, but not too loud. Probably, that wasn't quite love. "Sounds like a beautiful cage," she said. "Yeah." She poured tea. We drank it with dry cookies she bought on sale. At some point, I caught myself not wanting to leave. Not because of Vera, exactly, but because of the state of things. Sitting in a small kitchen where the radiator hissed, where the tea was too strong, where the person across from me wasn't trying to please me and wasn't afraid to say something unpleasant. The tension started with small things. First, Vera said she saw Gleb, the guy who helped with the documents, standing across from her building. She'd spotted him from the pharmacy window. He was smoking, talking on the phone. When she went out, he was gone. I said it was probably a coincidence. She nodded, but I saw she didn't believe me. 2 days later, an unsigned note appeared in her mailbox. "Don't stick your nose where you don't understand." She brought it to Max, who shrugged and said it was unpleasant but expected. I got angry. "What do you mean expected?" "Exactly that. If the fraud chain is active, someone doesn't want it touched. We need to file a report." "We will." But the police won't guard her mailbox. Vera sat beside him, hands locked. "I could stop," she said. "No," I said sharply. She looked at me. "It's my life, not yours." "I understand." "No, you're talking like you bought the right to decide." I felt ashamed and angry at once. I stepped into the hallway, smelling coffee and printer paper. Looked out the window. People walked below, cars crawled in traffic. A courier ate a bun on the go. I realized Vera was right. I was doing it again. Turning someone else's trouble into a project. The project had to reach completion because otherwise it bruised my competence. Her fear, her exhaustion, her right to stop, seemed to get in the way of the plan. When she came out, I said, "I'm sorry." She nodded. "I don't want to stop. I just don't want you dragging me around like luggage." "I'll try." "Don't try. Just ask." "Okay. Do you want to continue?" She stared out the window for a long time. Yes, because if I stay silent now, it'll be like Mama died and they erased her too. Like her room, her mugs, her curtains, her ficus on the windowsill never existed. I want to allow it. I want someone to say you can't do that to people. After that, I saw not just exhaustion in her, but strength. Not loud, not cinematic, but real. The kind that appears in people who had to keep from falling for too long. People around us explained it their own way. My financial director, Arthur, whom I worked with for 15 years, lingered after a meeting one day and said carefully, "Andrew, I heard you're handling a private real estate matter. Everything all right? Fine. Just be careful. There are a lot of stories lately. People latch on. Then claims appear, reputational risks." "What people?" He hesitated. "You know, various. You understand." I understood. In his world, Vera was various. The kind who shows up in the rain with a folder, who might ask for something, ruin things, drag you in, use you. A month ago, I probably would thought the same. She asked the daughter of a woman who worked for my family. I said, "Yeah, I'm not arguing, but still. You live alone, you have assets." Sometimes these stories start very sweetly. I looked at him and suddenly saw clearly that he wasn't malicious. He just spoke the language of our world. A world where closeness is always screened for threats, where trust must pass compliance, where a person without money automatically becomes a risk. "Thanks for the concern," I said. "But drop it." He raised his hands. "As you say." A few days later, my ex-wife Lena called. We hadn't spoken in months, just birthday greetings. She was an architect, lived with her new husband and daughter in St. Petersburg. Her voice was soft, slightly amused, like before. "I heard you've taken up a rescue fund." "Who told you?" "Arthur." "Andrew, it doesn't matter. Are you okay?" "Yes." "A woman." "What? There's a woman, right?" I was too tired to deflect. "Lena, it's not like that." She paused. "I'm not laughing. You just rarely let people in. And when you do, you usually try to build them an instruction manual first." I closed my eyes. "Was it really that bad?" "Not bad. Just neat. You know, even your tenderness was neat, like towels in a luxury hotel." We both laughed quietly, but it hurt. "She is not like us," I said, unexpectedly. "Is that good, or are you scared?" I looked at my office, the even shelves, the dark window reflecting a lonely man in an expensive sweater. "I don't know." "Then don't ruin it with fear. You're good at that." After that call, I paced the house for a long time. At some point, I walked into the guest bedroom, then another. Everywhere was clean, dry, and personal. I imagined Vera walking through these rooms, touching the bedspreads, setting her gray bag on the floor. And I realized I wasn't afraid she'd ask for something. I was afraid she'd see the emptiness I'd taught myself not to notice. Confirmation came in mid-December. Max tracked down the notary who processed the power of attorney and discovered that on that day, Lidia Pavlovna physically couldn't have been there. She was in the hospital after a second stroke. The hospital log had an entry, a discharge summary, a nurse's testimony. The signature on the power of attorney was likely forged. Moreover, Gleb was linked to a company that bought up problematic rooms before relocation. This wasn't just she didn't sign. This was a crime. We sat in Max's office when he placed copies of the documents in front of us. Vera didn't touch them at first, stared at the pages like they might burn her. "So Mama didn't sign?" she asked. "According to our data, no," Max said. "So I'm not an idiot." Her voice cracked for the first time the whole time. Max carefully took off his glasses. "Vera, you were deceived. And your mother too, most likely." She nodded, but her face went pale. I wanted to put a hand on her shoulder, but didn't. Asked with my eyes. She nodded almost imperceptibly. Then I touched her shoulder, and she suddenly covered my hand with hers, gripping hard, almost painfully. For a few seconds, we just sat like that, and it felt like the whole office, the desk, the diplomas, the city outside vanished. Only her hand remained, cold and alive. After that, the case grew serious. Statements, interviews, additional checks. Gleb was summoned, didn't he show? The new room owner started getting nervous, and through his lawyer, offered a settlement. A small sum, dropped the claims, silence. Vera listened to Max, then asked, "If I agree, will they keep doing this to others?" Max answered honestly, "Probably." Then no. I was proud of her and afraid for her. In late December, the second turning point happened. The one that changed not just the case, but us. Vera disappeared for a day. Didn't answer calls from morning till evening. I held back at first, then called the pharmacy. They said she'd taken time off. Called Max, he didn't know. Drove to her building. The apartment windows were dark. I stood in the courtyard among dirty snow, stared at the playground, the slide, footprints, and felt panic. Completely unfamiliar, almost humiliating. I was a man used to controlling million-dollar deals, unable to control one switched-off phone. She called back herself, around 10 at night. "Don't yell," she said immediately. "Where are you?" "At the hospital." Everything inside me dropped. What happened? Not me. Aunt Raya, my mother's neighbor. She felt bad. I went to her, my phone died. I got to the hospital in 40 minutes. An old reception ward, smelling of bleach, wet parkas, cheap vending machine food. Vera sat on a plastic chair in the hallway, holding a paper cup of water. Her cap slid sideways, her face gray with exhaustion. "Why did you come?" she asked. "Because I was scared." She looked at me. Didn't he smile, didn't he joke? Just looked, and something in her face softened. "I'm sorry. Don't be." I sat down. We stayed silent. Doctors walked out of offices. Somewhere a child cried. A wheelchair wheel squeaked with every turn. I took off my coat and draped it over her. She started to refuse, then just wrapped herself in it. "Aunt Raya used to bring Mama soup when I was on shift," she said quietly. Always grumbled that Mama was difficult, but brought it anyway. Her son lives in another city, calls rarely. I couldn't just not go. Of course. I was in her apartment. Felt so strange. Everything old, carpets, medicine, photos. And I suddenly thought, Mama used to sit alone like that too when I wasn't there. Listen to neighbors walking, wait. And I'd get mad that she kept calling and asking for the wrong kind of cottage cheese. I thought she was doing it on purpose. Maybe she just wanted me to come. I said nothing. Sometimes silence is the only thing that doesn't ruin it. "I'm tired of being strong," she whispered. "So tired. Everyone says, you're doing great, hanging in there. And I already hate that word. Hanging in there. Like a bus handle." She tried to smile, but her lips trembled. I took her hand. This time didn't ask, because she didn't pull away. "With me, you don't have to hang in there," I said. She was quiet for a long time, then softly answered, "Can you handle it?" Right then, I knew it wasn't a question about the hospital. It was about everything. Her past, poverty, distrust, exhaustion, sharpness, fear of owing someone, my emptiness, habit of buying solutions, coldness, awkwardness around real life. About whether we could be together, not as rescuer and saved, not as rich man and woman with a bag, but as two people with too much unsaid behind them. "I don't know," I said honestly, "but I want to learn." She looked at our hands. "That's better than I'll decide everything." I already figured that out. Not completely. Not completely, I agreed. We sat in the hospital until 2 in the morning. Aunt Raya was kept for observation. Nothing critical, blood pressure and heart. Vera only exhaled when the doctor said she could go home. I drove her back. At the entrance, she handed back the coat but didn't get out right away. "Coming up?" she asked. "I'm tired. That's why I'm asking." The apartment was cold, radiators barely warm. She turned on the kettle. I found an old jar of tea in the cupboard. We sat in the kitchen in the half-dark because the overhead light hurt our eyes, drank tea without sugar. Then she said, "I don't want to be your good deed. You aren't tea. Sometimes you are. Sometimes. Probably at the start, definitely. It was easier to think I was helping. Easier than admitting I need you." She froze. The word need slipped out unprepared. I was scared of it, like I'd dropped a cup and was waiting for the crash. But there was no crash. Just the kettle cooling, the yard darkening, a door slamming somewhere in the stairwell. "You need me?" Vera asked. "Yes." "Why?" I smiled, tired and scattered. I don't know the right way to answer. Not because you're unhappy. Not because of the letter. Not because I'm alone, though I am. Just next to you. I stopped being a man who only maintains his comfortable life. With you, I'm awkward, scared, sometimes hurt, but alive. She turned away. I only saw her profile, tired, thin, a shadow under her eye. "And with you, I feel calm," she said. "And that scares me the most." After that night, we didn't become a couple right away. Life rarely works instantly unless you're lying. We were cautious, sometimes drew closer, then stepped back. I'd say something clumsy, she'd shut down. She'd push away help where it was already just care, and I'd get offended, even though I understood why. We learned simple things. Ask instead of guess. Say I don't like it instead of disappearing, not turn the difference between us into a weapon. For New Year's, I didn't leave for the first time in years. Usually, I'd fly somewhere warm or stay home with a bottle of good champagne, pretending I didn't care about holidays. Vera planned to spend the evening at Aunt Raya's, who now called me that serious one. I offered to bring groceries. Vera said, "Just not your restaurant hampers." "What should I buy?" "Potatoes, herring, eggs, mayo, tangerines, and normal bread." "What is normal?" "The kind that was soft yesterday and has a little character today." I bought everything on the list. Also bought expensive caviar, but left it in the car because I knew it would be out of place. The three of us sat in Aunt Raya's small kitchen with a floral oilcloth. Aunt Raya chopped salad and bossed both of us around. Vera laughed. I peeled eggs, did it terribly. Shell came off with the white. An old movie played on TV. Someone outside lit the first firecrackers. The apartment smelled of boiled potatoes, a small fir branch in a jar, tangerine peel. "Rich, but can't peel eggs," Aunt Raya said. "That wasn't on the board of directors' agenda," Vera replied. They both laughed. I did too, and suddenly felt such simple happiness I almost feared it. It wasn't bright, not festive, but warm, like a radiator and fatigue. Sitting on a stool, peeling eggs, hearing Vera laugh, watching Aunt Raya scold the TV. Nothing special, exactly why it mattered. The case dragged on, slow, sticky, with postponements, requests, irritating pauses, but it moved. In February, they found Gleb. Turned out he wasn't just involved in Lidia Pavlovna's story. There were several other elderly people, rooms, powers of attorney, sales. When Vera found out, she was quiet for a long time, then said, "So Mama wasn't alone?" "Yes." "It's terrible." "Yes." And somehow easier. I understood. Not because others suffered too, but because her personal pain got context. It stopped being I didn't notice, I'm to blame, I'm a fool, and became part of someone else's crime, someone else's greed, someone else's audacity. The guilt she'd worn like a wet coat finally started to dry. In spring, we went to Lidia Pavlovna's grave. Vera kept putting it off, said we needed to wait for a proper headstone, clean up, buy flowers. I said we could just go. She agreed on a cool March day when the snow was blackening but the sun shone bright and useless. The cemetery was on the outskirts, narrow paths, puddles, old birches. We bought carnations at the entrance. Vera didn't put them down, clutched them to her chest like she had the bag on my porch that day. The grave was modest, a wooden cross, a plaque. Old artificial flowers lay nearby, faded by winter. Vera knelt, started clearing dry leaves, straightening the soil. I stood nearby, then bent down to help. The earth was cold, dirt packed under my nails. I hadn't done anything with my hands without gloves in years. Mama remembered you as a little boy, Vera said without looking up. Said you were serious, always asked if you could sweep. I smiled. Sounds like me. She said once you broke a cup and brought the broom yourself. You were 5, and your mother said, "Don't touch, Lydia will clean it." And Mama cried in the kitchen later. Not about the cup. About how you already knew someone was supposed to clean up after you. My throat tightened. Not from offense at my mother, not from pity for myself, but from a strange, belated understanding that our lives are shaped by such small things. A cup, a broom, someone else's hands cleaning your shards while you learn not to notice. Tell her I'm sorry, I said. She'd be glad you came. You should come sooner. Yeah, Vera said. But you came now. It didn't fully console me, and I was grateful for that. In April, the court invalidated the power of attorney as part of one proceeding, and then the bigger story began. Criminal case, transaction reviews. Vera might not get the room back soon, or maybe she'd get compensation, but the main ruling was already made. Lidia Pavlovna didn't sign. She wasn't erased. You can't do that to people. Vera came out of the courthouse pale, folder in hand. Outside, a fine rain fell, like the evening we met, but the air was spring, smelling of soil and wet bark. Well, she said. She was. Yes. What do you feel? She thought. Quiet. Like someone turned off an old refrigerator that's been humming in my head for months. We walked. I held the umbrella. She walked beside me, our shoulders brushing occasionally. At the traffic light, she suddenly took my hand, just like that, without words. To someone else, it might be a small thing. To us, a whole event. I didn't say anything, just slowed my steps slightly. By then, Vera had been to my house a few times. At first, it felt uncomfortable. She walked carefully, laughed at my separate glass cabinet, asked if I'd ever gotten lost going from the bedroom to the kitchen. But gradually, the house began to change. Not through renovation, through small things. Normal kitchen towels replaced decorative ones. A pot of soup in the fridge. Her old broken umbrella in the hallway. On the living room windowsill, the ficus she'd rescued from her mother's room at Aunt Raya's. Small, stubborn, with 3 new leaves. One morning, I woke up to the smell of pancakes. It was so unfamiliar I first thought I was dreaming. Went down to the kitchen in an old t-shirt. Vera stood at the stove in my shirt. Hair fell over her face, flour dusted the counter. A bowl sat there, batter dripped and dried on the stone. "I ruined your perfect kitchen," she said without turning. Finally, she looked over her shoulder. "Careful, Andrew Sergeyevich. That's how you start living." I stepped up, hugged her from behind. She tensed for a second, then relaxed. Outside was a bright May morning. The lawn still damp, the gardener working with bushes in the distance. The house smelled of pancakes, coffee, and her shampoo. I stood there thinking that wealth is a strange thing. It can buy silence, security, a soft bed, underfloor heating, the ability to ignore price tags. But it doesn't know how to create a morning where someone mutters at the stove and leaves flour on the table. Doesn't know how to make someone wait for you out of anything but duty. Doesn't know how to bring a house to life. Later, in summer, Vera finally decided to unpack her mother's bag completely. The gray one she'd arrived with. It had sat in her closet, then moved with her to us, but stayed closed. One Sunday, during a heat wave, we carried it to the terrace. I made lemonade. Vera brought a box for sorting. She took things out one by one. Lydia's old scarf, glasses in a worn case, a recipe notebook, a small icon she set aside without discussion. Several photos, receipts, a ball of yarn, a little packet of buttons. Why did she keep so many buttons? Vera asked, in case the world ends, but the coat can still be saved. She smiled. Then she found a small envelope. Inside lay that same wooden boat from the photo, darkened, paint peeling, but recognizable. I held it, and suddenly felt like a boy of 5 or 7, standing at the dacha, squinting in the sun, not yet knowing he'd grow into a man who could buy companies but couldn't he ask someone to stay. Mama said your mother wanted to throw it out when they moved, Vera said. But mine took it. Said you don't just discard childhood things. I ran a finger over the crooked mast. I thought it was lost. Not everything is lost, she said quietly. Sometimes it just stays with someone else until you're ready for it. That day, I told her about my father for the first time. Not the corporate summary, died, business, inheritance, but the real one. How he smelled of tobacco and frost coming in from the street. How he could fix anything except his own life. How he laughed until my mother entered the room, then seemed to button himself up completely. How I'd been angry at him for weakness because that's what I was taught, and only later realized maybe he was the only one in our house who wanted not to win, but to live. Vera listened, sitting on the terrace floor, sorting buttons. Then she said, you know what's the most painful? We often start understanding our parents when we can't ask them anything anymore. Yeah, but we can choose not to repeat their mistakes. I looked at her. In the sun, her eyelashes were light. I hadn't noticed before. A small bruise on her knee, a burn mark on her arm from the stove probably. Alive, not perfect, real. And I suddenly understood I loved her not as an escape from loneliness. Loneliness was part of me too, and she wasn't obligated to cure it. I loved her because next to her, the world became concrete. Tea gets cold. A leg hurts. Bread needs buying. A person is scared, but speaks. An old ficus puts out a leaf. Rain starts earlier than forecast. Home isn't walls or square footage. It's a place where you don't have to perform. In autumn, Vera received compensation from the case. Not huge, not enough to buy back lost years, but enough to clear debts, put up a headstone for her mother, and decide what to do next. She didn't quit the pharmacy right away. Said she needed the feeling of her own salary, her own shift, her own key. I didn't argue. We generally stopped arguing about who owed what to whom. Sometimes it went badly, but more often, fine. The day we put up Lidia Pavlovna's headstone, it was sunny and cold. We picked a simple, light stone. A small oval photo on it. Lidia in a scarf, soft face, attentive eyes. We brought chrysanthemums. Aunt Raya came too, grumbled about the wind, but stood for a long time. Then she told me, well, serious one. Thank you. For what? For not turning out to be a complete fool. Vera laughed and kissed her cheek. After the cemetery, we didn't go to a restaurant. We went home. Vera said she wanted soup. I said I'd make it. She raised an eyebrow. You? I've learned. Reheating buckwheat doesn't count. Vegetable soup. From a video. The soup turned out too thick and undersalted, but Vera ate a whole bowl and said it had character. That evening, we sat in the living room. The ficus on the windowsill had grown into a respectable plant. On the sofa lay a throw Vera had chosen, soft with uneven fringe. The house no longer had museum silence. Somewhere the dishwasher ran. Her boots dried in the hallway. Receipts and her book lay on the table. Soup sat in the kitchen. I suddenly remembered that first evening. The wet porch, the woman with the gray bag, my bewilderment. What are you thinking about? Vera asked. That if I hadn't come home early that day, you would left. Probably. And what would happened? She shrugged. I'd have slept at the station. Maybe come back another day. Maybe not. Scary. Yeah. But you came back. I looked at her. Stay, I said. She smiled. I'm already here, aren't I? No, I don't mean tonight. Vera fell quiet. I didn't pull out a ring. Didn't drop to one knee. Didn't turn the moment into a scene. We had too much that started awkwardly to suddenly become theater. I just sat next to the woman who once appeared on my porch in the rain and asked her to stay in my life. Not out of gratitude, not out of need, not out of fear, but because without her, the house would just be a house again. "I'm scared," she said. "Me too. You'll still try to decide for me sometimes." "Probably. And I'll get angry and retreat into silence." "Probably. We'll learn." She looked at her hands, then at me. Then yes. And that's it. No music, no sudden lighting. Just the dishwasher humming in the kitchen. Outside, a security car drove past. Somewhere in the wall, a heating pipe clicked quietly. Vera rested her head on my shoulder. I sat still, afraid to disturb this simple warmth, though I already knew real things don't need to be held so tight they suffocate. They just need to be let in. With wet boots, with the past, with someone else's buttons, with undersalted soup, with questions you don't answer right away. I was rich and lonely until she knocked on my door. And then it turned out the door didn't just open for her. It opened to a life I'd kept outside for years, thinking it was safer that way.